Even though there have been many unexpected changes in the cryptocurrency space, one of the most talked about subjects is XRP's supply patterns. The XRP ledger has seen some interesting developments over the last few weeks. Experts, developers, and investors have taken notice of this and are keeping a careful eye on the project's development. Many people have developed their own thoughts about what Ripple might be planning behind the scenes in response to these odd swings in wallet activity, blockchain movements, and consolidation trends. The discussion starts with information that many investors fail to consider. XRP stands apart from almost all of the other sizable digital assets on the market due to the genuinely unique way it is distributed. Most cryptocurrencies have set deadlines for their issuance or mining. On the other hand, XRP distributes and manages its money in a far more complicated and occasionally confusing way. This causes the Bitcoin community to become interested and start talking about the issue as investors try to figure out what really affects the availability of XRP and, in turn, its cost. It is important to stress that the company Ripple has no authority over the XRP system, because the ledger functions independently of any outside input and makes sure that no one entity can independently change the future of the token. Ripple cannot just burn tokens or change the number at its whim. An essential element of XRP's development is its decentralized structure. In an effort to facilitate automatic withdrawals, XRP tokens have been kept in escrow accounts over the years, every month. Although any XRP that is not used is frequently returned to escrow, the goal is for these releases to be clear and consistent. This leads to the creation of a flexible supply that transforms to meet the needs of Ripple's operations as well as market conditions. Because of this strategy, market watchers, such as market analysts, are keeping a close check on Ripple's operations. This is especially true if they discover strange activity in a cryptocurrency wallet, or if they note that a substantial amount has been transferred. Every transaction is examined to establish what Ripple is trying to achieve and how it might affect the amount of XRP in circulation. Significant amounts of XRP have recently been pooled together by a number of sizable wallets that are thought to be connected to Ripple's business strategy. There will be no market distribution of the coins. Instead, they will be kept. As a result, several questions and conjectures have been raised on the future goals of Ripple. Some people think that this behavior is a certain kind of accumulation that has been done on purpose, maybe to keep a strategic reserve. Some people see it as a sign that they are getting ready for something bigger. Certain members of the XRP community interpret these actions as signs of an impending event that may lead to a shift in the way supplies are managed. One that might fundamentally change how the XRP market functions and how much money it is worth in the years to come. There is no hard proof to support Ripple's claim that it wants to burn 50 billion XRP or even close to that amount. Among spite of this, the idea remains a hot topic of debate and controversy among the XRP community. Understanding the cause is not difficult. The story of the cutback in supply is compelling and stirring. It is predicated on basic ideas that describe how economies operate. When the supply of an asset declines and the demand for it either stays the same or rises, the asset's apparent value. An asset's value can rise dramatically. Regarding an asset that is important in terms of liquidity, XRP is thought to have a more efficient, transparent, and clean supply system. As a result, buyers, individual and institutional, feel better about their investments. In markets that are constantly changing, this feeling of transparency and predictability is crucial. Investors start thinking about the possible outcomes of a situation where actual scarcity and real-world utility collide. The circulation float falls, the adoption rate rises, and the need for long-term utility is met by a more reliable and effective mechanism. Speculation and optimism are the results of these ideas. It is therefore not unexpected that people are constantly coming up with fresh ideas about how Ripple might change the amount of XRP that is accessible. Even though they don't actually use a burn to accomplish this, it's still unclear. Theories range from the creation of new techniques for managing trust-to-stock buybacks. For several years, XRP that has been held in escrow is being routinely released back into the market by Ripple once a month. In addition to creating new patterns throughout the ecosystem, this has fundamentally changed how wallets transfer our money. Both experts and buyers are keeping a tight eye on these events, watching for any signs that supply may change in the future. When you consider the bigger digital infrastructure that Ripple is now building, the problem gets considerably more complex. The role that XRP plays in the world is becoming increasingly noticeable as real-time payments, cross-border settlement, and tokenization gain traction. Investors are aware that as demand grows over time, the supply chain structure becomes more and more important. As a result, many people have wondered how Ripple might improve liquidity. Some of these thoughts include whether the company's control could be changed, whether its escrow could be restructured, or whether more advanced methods could be used to raise market transparency. This doesn't mean that there's a secret plot to carry out a big burn, but it does. Give a reason why every move that Ripple takes on the blockchain piques people's curiosity. This is the source of the sense of urgency. It's not fear, but interest. Researchers quickly look into the meaning of any major transactions in the ledger. Researchers look into it. The idea of social media is bursting with ideas whenever the patterns of reserve wallets change, with accumulations appearing in place of distributes. The way that Ripple views the current financial system has prompted concerns about whether XRP will require a different supply system than the one that is in existence at the moment. They want to know if getting recognized by institutions would lead to the creation of creative cash flow management techniques. They want to know if there are any changes made during the early phases of development that could affect the asset's long-term trajectory. The goal of this movie is not to prove that 50 billion XRP have been burned or to follow the latest rumor merely to increase clicks. Instead, it is about finding out what is actually at risk for XRP owners and the cryptocurrency ecosystem as a whole by digging deeper into the underlying problems and looking past the news and hype. We wanted to know what it is about the idea of a big supply burn that draws in so many investors, as well as what the data actually tells us about Ripple's tactics and XRP's future. The primary goal is to enable people to see the big picture and discern between information that is important and information that is not. Ripple's strategy for SUP Lee has consistently been distinguished by a long-term outlook, a disciplined approach, and adherence to open regulations and corporate adoption. That it is based on sudden, spectacular, irreversible events that could send the market into a panic overnight has never been the case. Nevertheless, the process of speculating itself provides an important aspect. Everyone knows that XRP's value depends on how its supply is controlled and how it changes over time. Also, there is a lot of activity in the Bitcoin community. There is a lot of attention, discussion, and occasionally even panic whenever a big change takes place, whether it is perceived or real. The reason for this is that it might have a big impact on the network's future adoption rate and pricing.